Poland on a Plate is brought to you by Krakus. Krakus, the true imported Polish ham.
Welcome to Poland on a Plate. Today's episode is all about lunch. Please join me and our special guest, James Beard Foundation award-winning chef and author Gail Gand, as we prepare her Polish mustard glazed pork tenderloin, a delicious roasted beet salad, and for dessert, chocolate pudding in individual mason jars, perfect for a picnic or a school snack. And later, I will show you my delicious back-to-school sandwiches and snacks using Krakus ham.
Poland on a Plate is brought to you by Krakus. Krakus, the true imported Polish ham.
Dla finansowania marzenia porozmawiaj ze specjalistą do spraw kredytów PNC i znajdź kredyt najlepszy dla siebie. PNC Mortgage. Wstąp do oddziału lub odwiedź pnc.com.
I'm here today with our guest chef, Gail Gand, of Spritzberger in Chicago, co-owner of True Restaurant, TV personality, and author of a dozen cookbooks, including Gail Gand's Lunch. Welcome, Gail. It's an honor to have you here. Please tell me a little bit about what we're going to cook today.
Thanks for having me in your kitchen. I really appreciate it. We're going to do some Polish-inspired dishes today. So I'm going to start with a Polish mustard glazed pork tenderloin. Then I'm going to do some spätzle. There's a Polish version of dumpling that's called, what's it called again?
Lane ciasto.
Right, that will make something like that. Then I'm going to do some salad with beets, carrots, and a little bit of orange juice. So nice roasted beet salad, and then we'll end with some chocolate pudding. So you want to get started?
Yes. So first up we have the Polish mustard glazed pork tenderloin.
Right, and it is super easy and simple to do, which is part of why I love this recipe so much. I start with a Ziploc bag, and I'm just going to put all the marinade ingredients right in the bag. Then the pork tenderloin goes in as well, and we're going to let it sit together for a little while. So I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of coarse grain mustard. So that's like a really kind of flavorful mustard. And that's
a classic Polish mustard.
Right. And then I've got some garlic, chopped garlic going in. Got a little bit of ground ginger, so dry ginger powder. I've got some fresh thyme here, but if you don't have fresh, if it's not the time of year or you can't find it, dry is perfectly fine.
All right. We'll just want to make sure that you use a little bit less of the dry herb versus the fresh.
Right, because it is a little bit more intense. And then I'm going to put a little bit of black pepper in there, ground. And for liquid, we'll add some olive oil and some soy sauce.
Great combo. I love all these flavors.
Great flavors. So we've got herbs, we've got garlic, we've got ginger, but I thought it'd be nice to add a little bit of orange rind. So we're going to grate some orange rind in. Thing with the orange rind is you want to make sure you take that label off. That's the most important thing when you're doing this. And I'm just going to use a microplane, which is my new best friend, definitely. It's the easiest way to grate rind. You just kind of rub the fruit right across the surface. And you can see it takes off just the just the outside. Yeah, where the oils are, but not the pith where it's bitter.
Yeah.
So just kind of like swipe it across.
It's very like perfuming. You can smell the orange.
There we go. So that's our marinade. I'm going to go ahead and add a pork tenderloin. This is about a pound, pound and a half, going in the bag.
The bag there.
Thanks, Basha. There we go.
Get it in there.
And then I seal it up. I give it a quick sort of massage your pork tenderloin, just to work all those flavors in. Yeah, to mix the flavors and to work them into the tenderloin itself. Now at this point, you could let it sit for about an hour in the refrigerator to absorb those flavors.
Yeah.
And then roast it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20-25 minutes till it comes to an internal temperature of 140.
Okay.
Or you could leave this in the fridge for a day or two. If you're not making this for today and you're making it for tomorrow or the day after, you could just, let it sit in the fridge and pull it out when you're ready to roast. So while that's roasting in the oven, let's go ahead and make the spätzle, which I think is easy, simple. It's just a combination of flour, so all-purpose flour that you've got in the house, some eggs, some milk. I'm going to use Dijon mustard on this one to flavor it.
Okay.
A little bit of salt and some ground nutmeg, fresh ground nutmeg or store-bought, but same rule applies. If you're going to grind grate it fresh yourself, pull back on the quantity because it is a little stronger than the pre-grated one. And then I snip some chives in at the end. If you've got fresh chives going in the garden, perfect.
Those look so beautiful.
If not, go ahead and buy some. But this is the batter all mixed together. And then I thought I'd bring out my special Spätzle maker for this. So this is kind of like a cheese grater.
Yes, like one side of it almost.
Yeah, it's got holes in it, and then it's got this little sort of dispenser for the batter that you move across it to try to force the batter down into boiling water.
Oh.
So let's go ahead and you're going to hook it on the pot with that little hook there. Okay. Now you could also use a colander if you wanted, but suspended over. It's a little hard to kind of wipe or swipe the batter through, but this kind of does it for you.
We're trying to get the holes, the little droplets.
Right, you're trying to force this batter, which it's a pretty thick batter, you can see, but that gives for like a nice chewy dumpling at the end. Then you're just going to go back and forth. Now the first couple times nothing happens because it needs to kind of get softened up, but after a while you'll start to see that batter like drip through the holes in there into the boiling water. Yeah, so it's these strands of that batter, and because it's egg and flour, it makes for a nice sort of chewy little dumpling. Once they fall into the boiling water, pretty rapidly they float to the top. And that's how you know they're done. So you can start fishing them out at that point. How about you get that pork out?
I'll go grab the
Just
pork
move this
from the
closer.
oven. Oh wow,
How's
it's
it
looking
look?
really good. It has that
look at
nice
the-
brown top.
Yeah, I love the sort of bumpy texture of the mustard and everything.
Yeah.
Now when I'm serving this, usually what I would do is pull it out of the oven, take a temp, make sure it's at least 140 internally, and then let it rest for about 5 minutes. So that way the juices will kind of stay absorbed in the meat versus if we slice it right away, it'll start to give them off. And do you want to go ahead and put the tenderloin right on here, and then we'll tuck the Spätzle next to it. Got a slotted spoon that you can use to fish out. Or if you've got, I talked about a spider, which is kind of that kind of webby metal.
Or if we're all done, we could take this over a colander.
You could dump the whole thing. Yep. But you can see they just kind of come out really nicely, sort of sweet little wiggly dumplings.
Yeah.
You could throw a little butter on them, or even saute them in a pan with a little bit of butter to crispen them up.
They're very unique.
But
They're
I
like
like
the
them tender like
snowflakes
that.
of dumplings.
Yeah.
They're all a little different.
Yeah, that's true. Each one's a little bit different shape. There we go.
All right, and this is Gail Gann's Polish mustard glazed pork tenderloin with chive Spätzle.
I think it came out great.
It looks phenomenal.
Doesn't it? It's really pretty. And why don't we do the beets next?
Okay, and we'll continue with our lunch menu.
Poland on a Plate is brought to you by Krakus. Krakus, the true imported Polish ham.
Hi, we're back with Gail Gann, who will now show us a delicious dish using one of Poland's favorite locally sourced ingredients, beets. Okay, Gail, how can I help?
I was thinking that you could help me roast these beets, because the first step is to take just whole raw beets and throw them in some foil.
Wash, but keep the peel on them still.
Right, and these two had like long roots coming out of them, so I snipped those off too. But you're just going to gather them up into some foil like that, and then roast them in the oven at 400 degrees for about an hour.
Okay.
And that'll tenderize them, okay?
All right, well, we'll see you later.
See you in an hour. No. Come back before an hour, okay? The next thing for the beets, roasted carrots, a little bit of olive oil and parsley, is I've got some peeled carrots here. So let's cut up 3 of these to also roast in the oven. And I do something called a Japanese roll cut. So it's sort of a special little cut that makes a nice faceted carrot, but it's not a slice. I don't love slices because they kind of stick together and they get kind of limp. This instead is like a big sort of chunk that's bite size. And the way I do it is I just take my knife and I cut from corner to corner on my cutting board, and then I turn the carrot a quarter turn towards myself. And then corner to corner and a quarter turn towards myself. So you end up with these nice faceted shapes that roast quickly, are bite sized, so you don't really need a knife to eat the dish, but they kind of look pretty. I think they look prettier than, than regular slices. And they sort of give a little space in between so they don't stick together.
They really stand on their own a little bit.
So usually what I do is put these in a roasting pan. We've got a glass one there, right? So I'm going to have you toss these in, and then we're just going to sprinkle them with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper, and those will go in the oven for about a half an hour to start. And after about 30 minutes, I'm going to ask you to take them out, and we're going to sprinkle a little bit of orange juice on top, return them to the oven for another 15 minutes. And that way the orange juice will kind of reduce and get a little syrupy and sweet. So just about a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper is really all they need.
Should we toss them?
Let's give them one, you know, sometimes I just kind of shake the pan a little bit. My husband does the dishes, so I hate to dirty another spoon if I don't have to.
That should be the excuse to dirty another dish because
I have a dishwasher. Don't tell him that.
All right, I'll put these.
So put those in. We're going to leave them in for about 30 minutes. And after 30, we'll take them out. We'll top them with a little bit of orange juice. Now let me show you how to peel the beets. We've got some that we already roasted off earlier. And this is a slightly messy job. So I think I'll do it because your hands are too nice. Messy in the sense that they give off a lot of red color. So I'm just going to unwrap these beets that have been roasted and take a look. They get really sort of beautiful garnet colored. Yeah. And the peel at this point is going to come off really easily. If you just kind of slide the peel off, see how that is? But also see how that is. There's a couple things you can do if you have an important date that night and don't want to have red hands. You can wear gloves. You could wear surgical gloves, latex gloves, dishwashing gloves to protect your hands. The other thing you could do is just put a little bit of vegetable oil on your hands. Oh. And that kind of waterproofs them so that the beet juice can't be absorbed. But at this point, they are so delicious just almost by themselves. So what I'm going to do is trim off that end and just kind of make, I call them chips, but I don't know if that's inaccurate, but it's sort of the same shape as the roasted carrot.
The Japanese roll cut.
So I'm just kind of going like that to get some bite-sized pieces of this very tender beets. Now, you could prepare the beets this way for almost anything. You know, if you just wanted to do tri-colored beets with some snap peas or something. It's a great way to just roast beets, get them nice and sweet and ready to be eaten. And then if you want to go ahead and throw the orange juice onto those carrots.
Sure. I have our orange juice here.
Right. And that's fresh squeezed, though it doesn't have to be. But just go ahead and sprinkle that on over them. All right. And that'll give the carrots and the orange juice a little time to live together and time for the flavors to sort of intensify. So we'll give that another 15 minutes to sort of caramelize and reduce so that the flavor intensifies. But I've got some here actually that we already did.
Great.
So here's the carrots. Oops. There's the beets. I'm going to go ahead and add the two together. Now beets do give off a lot of color, as you saw. So at this point, we don't really want to stir it a whole lot because it's going to dye those nice orange carrots red.
That's true.
So we'll give it like one fold maybe at the most. And let's throw in some chopped parsley. And then we'll top it with a little bit more. But I'm just kind of gingerly folding. Oh, I love that. Do you smell that sort of caramelized smell?
Yeah, you know what? It reminds me of like Thanksgiving with the sweet potatoes roasting in the oven a little bit.
You know, sweet potatoes and beets both have a pretty high natural sugar content. So what's happening in the oven is that sugar is really caramelizing. So let's go ahead and put these roasted beets and carrots right on a serving platter. And then I'm going to top them off with a little more parsley just to really bring out the color there. There we go. So that's the roasted beets and carrots with orange.
This looks great. What a perfect, delicious, flavorful, and easy to prepare salad to go along with our lunch menu. And I'm excited for what's up next.
Poland on a Plate is brought to you by Krakus. Krakus, the true imported Polish ham.
Welcome back to Poland on a Plate. During this segment, I will feature a delicious recipe using Krakus, the true imported Polish ham. It's back to school time, so today I'm going to show you some deliciously easy and healthy snacks and sandwiches using Krakus honey ham. These recipes are just as fun to make as they are to eat, and a great way to get your kids involved in the kitchen too. I'm going to start with my Krakus Happy Face grilled ham and cheese sandwich. And as you can see with the namesake, we have a little happy face right here. So I'm going to take an uncut piece of bread and I'm going to start layering a slice of American cheese. Then I'm going to top that with our Krakus honey ham. I'm using the honey ham in this recipe. Could also use Krakus Original Polish or their reduced sodium varieties. Then I'm just going to top it with the face and our sandwich is ready to be grilled. I'm going to step over to our stove here. I have a pan heating over medium heat. I'm just gonna go ahead and melt some butter, just enough to coat it. We're gonna go ahead and go face side down first, and we're gonna let this sit for just a few minutes so that we get a nice browning on the bread. And while we're doing that, over here, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite kid-friendly recipes that I've already prepared. We have our ham sushi roll-ups, just a wrap with some cream cheese, a little bit of carrots, and Krakus Polish ham. Then we have our breadstick and grissini roll-ups. Also ham, cream cheese, just roll it up around a breadstick, pretzel stick, whatever your family likes best. Then we have our checkerboard sandwiches. These are really fun. You just use 2 different kinds of bread to create this checkerboard effect. You can let your kids pick their own vegetables as pieces on top. And then finally, our sandwich on a stick. And this is a lot of fun to get your kids involved with. You can use cookie cutters, make different shapes with the bread, the cheeses. We have a couple cherry tomatoes, bell peppers. All of these are really a lot of fun and a great healthy way to get your kids to eat sandwiches that are a little different than the norm. Our sandwich should be about ready to flip. So come back over here. There we go. Nicely browned on the outside. The really important thing when you're layering this sandwich is you're going to want to make sure that you put the ham on the side that has the cutout so that when you're cooking it, the cheese doesn't like ooze out of the openings and you keep everything really nice together. I'm going to put top on it just to help that cheese melt a little bit, and we're going to talk about the toppings. I have some grapes for eyes, some cherry tomatoes that we'll be using for the ears. Go ahead and chop one in half. And then I also have some carrots that I grated for the hair. All right, our sandwich is ready to go. We'll add the ears that we just cut, our little grape eyeballs, and our crazy carrot hair. Just pile it right on there. You can design any hairstyle you want. And it's done. Here is my Krakus Happy Face grilled ham and cheese sandwich. You can find this and other great Krakus recipes on our website at polandonaplate.com and find Krakus ham at fine delis near you. Bon appetit, or as we say in Polish, smacznego.
Poland on a Plate is brought to you by Krakus. Krakus, the true imported Polish ham.
I'm back with Gail Gand, who will now add a sweet ending to our delicious lunch menu.
I was thinking maybe we should do something chocolate.
Ooh,
what do you think?
Like the sound of that.
I think people need a little chocolate every day. So let's do a really simple chocolate pudding.
Okay.
And to make it portable, we're going to put it in jars at the end.
Love it.
So you can serve it out of that or you can take it with you somewhere. So what I need you to do is go ahead and heat up this cream. This is 2 cups of cream.
All right.
Throw it in the pot there, and then we're going to add just a pinch of salt, because sweet things always taste a little bit better when they've got a touch of salt. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 pinch of salt. We're going to bring that to a simmer.
Okay.
And we're going to use the heat from that simmered cream to melt our chocolate.
Oh, so we don't need to worry about dirtying more than 1 pan with the double boiler.
Not only that, but we don't really have to chop the chocolate on a cutting board or anything. I've got some chocolate here that's bittersweet, so it's pretty intense, pretty dark chocolate. 70% is what it's called. So
okay.
High cacao content, low sugar content.
And that's pretty common with baking. You use the more bitter chocolate versus
I do
the
now
milk.
Because it has a lot more flavor, and then we can go ahead and add whatever amount of sugar we want to make it as sweet as we like versus leaving it up to the chocolate maker. The other thing we're going to use is some yolks to thicken the pudding. So sometimes with pudding you thicken with gelatin,
yeah.
Sometimes cornstarch is what's thickening that, but sometimes it's egg yolks. So that's what we're going to be using today. And what I like to do is take the sugar, 1/4 cup of sugar, into 3 yolks. So I've separated the whites from the yolks. And I'm just going to go ahead and whisk the sugar into the yolks. So we're doing 2 things here. We're kind of breaking up the yolk and helping water it down a little bit so it's a little more, it's going to mix in a little easier with our cream, but we're also starting to dissolve the sugar. which we need to do too. So that's the two actions that we're doing there while we whisk that in. Why don't you give the cream a stir, because I'm starting to see a little bit of steam come off, which means we've got some heat going. We can go ahead and add the chocolate at this point.
All right.
So just dump that right in. Nice.
Beautiful.
And then the heat from the cream is going to be melting it all on its own. Now I'm going to give you the whisk though, because that'll help kind of break it up for now. We'll be using both those tools though. The wooden spoon is a good thing to sort of gently stir stuff, but the whisk really helps break things down. I think it's a good time we can go ahead and add the yolks. What I'm going to do though, to get these yolks used to that hot temperature, if I poured them right in, we'd end up with
a weird chocolatey omelet.
Scrambled eggs. Yes, I don't think we want chocolate scrambled eggs. So what I'm going to do instead is just take a little bit of that hot cream, add it
Give you
to
the whisk.
the yolks, and this is going to help them sort of get used to where they're going. You know, it's like, come on, guys, we're going to be. It's going to be a little hot. It's like putting your toe in the hot tub. You know, to kind of get used to the temp. That's what we're doing to the yolks. We're tempering them so they kind of understand how hot it's going to get. And kind of
in we go.
diluting them so that, again, they don't scramble or anything like that. Great. So now we're going to cook it slowly, I think. Let's take a look and see what we've got here, because right now I can't tell if the chocolate's melted in or not.
It gets a little foamy.
And we can tell by, let's see, I still see like a little bit of specks of chocolate. And also just to see if we've thickened those yolks yet, I'm going to go ahead and run my finger through the liquid, and it's still pretty, it's not thickened yet per se. So I'm going to let you go ahead and whisk a little bit more.
Okay. So we're looking for pudding consistency. We don't want it to be runny like a chocolate sauce.
Right. Though that wouldn't
Or
be
hot
bad
chocolate.
either. Right. We could dip strawberries in it or something. But we do want something where the yolks have been fully cooked, and then once they chill in the refrigerator, they're going to set up like pudding. But while that's just finishing cooking, let's go ahead and get the jars ready. So I'm going to take the lids just off these. This is a 1 pint jar, mason jar. You could also get those tall
That's 1 pint?
ones. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. It's a half a pint.
Oh, okay.
It's 1 cup. It's 8 ounces, 1 cup. All right, let's check one more time. I think we're there though.
Yeah, it's really
look how
looking
beautiful
nice and
that
thick.
looks. Okay, and then I'm going to run my finger. Yeah, and it's not really filling in. It's staying pretty defined where it is.
Gorgeous.
So we are there. So let's go ahead and pour it in. But, you know, if you're not comfortable pouring right from the pot, you might want to get yourself something with a pour spout.
Yeah.
You could ladle that custard into that and then use that to pour. I'm going to go ahead and pour these ones. Ready? Now it's pretty hot at this point, so we do want to let it cool maybe like 10 minutes before we throw the lid on, because it's going to get some condensation built up in there if we throw the lid on right away.
This is our final product, our chocolate pudding in mason jars, your chocolate pudding in mason jars. Thank you very much for sharing this delicious treat with us.
Sure.
Hope you guys at home keep this in mind for your next picnic or even your kids' school lunch. You can find recipes from today's program on our website at polandonaplate.com. Bon appetit, or as we say in Polish, smacznego.
Dla finansowania marzenia porozmawiaj ze specjalistą do spraw kredytów PNC i znajdź kredyt najlepszy dla siebie. PNC Mortgage. Wstąp do oddziału lub odwiedź pnc.com.
Poland on a Plate is brought to you by Krakus. Krakus, the true imported Polish ham.